I paid my sister and her fiance's rent for years, only to learn they mocked me. This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. Got it. I will start writing the story based on the script while following your requirements. I'll make sure to maintain a clear emotional depth, expand the scenarios with compelling dialogues, and write in first person without headings or formatting styles. Here we go. I stood outside my grandmother's house, the evening air crisp against my skin, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. My heart pounded as her words echoed in my head, the ones that had shattered everything I thought I knew. Emma and Jared had been mocking me behind my back for years. It felt like a punch to the gut. 3 years of paying their rent, cutting back on my own life to support them, believing I was helping family. 3 years of thinking I was doing the right thing. Yet all that time, they were laughing at me. They thought I was pathetic, wasting my money on them while living alone, sacrificing everything while they built their lives. I forced myself to stay composed, to not let my grandmother see how much it hurt. But inside, I was burning. When I walked back inside to the birthday gathering, I smiled like nothing was wrong. I clinked glasses with Jared, exchanged small talk with Emma, let them believe I was still their fool. But in that moment, I made a silent decision. They were about to learn exactly what happened when the money stopped. I didn't call Emma that night. I didn't confront her or demand an explanation. I knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. Instead, I waited. A week later, my phone rang. "Hey, Brian," Emma said brightly as if nothing had changed. "Just checking in. How's everything?" I let her ramble for a bit. Wedding plans, flowers, caterers before she casually dropped the question she really wanted to ask. "Oh, and Jared was wondering if you could send this month's rent a little early. We've got some things coming up." I almost laughed. "Yeah, about that," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I'm actually dealing with some financial stuff myself. I won't be able to send the money this month." Silence. "Wait, you mean just this month, right? You'll still help us after that?" I took a breath, keeping my voice steady. "I don't know, Emma. I've been helping for 3 years. I might need to focus on my own situation for a while." She didn't answer right away. Then I heard it, her voice tightening, the mask slipping. "Brian, are you serious? We're counting on this money." I felt something in me harden. "Yeah, well, I was counting on my family not laughing behind my back." The silence stretched. She never asked what I meant, never denied it. Instead, she muttered a stiff, "Okay," and hung up. I set my phone down and exhaled. It had begun. For 2 weeks, nothing. Then my mother called, her voice full of concern. "Brian, I just talked to Emma. She says you stopped helping her with her bills." "What's going on?" I sighed. "Mom, I've been sending them $800 a month for 3 years. It's not like I owe them anything." "Well, yeah, but they're family. And Emma said you've been acting distant." I clenched my jaw. "Did she also mention that they've been making fun of me behind my back?" Silence. "What are you talking about?" I told her what Grandma had said. When I finished, the line was quiet for a long time. Then my mother sighed. "Brian, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. You've done more for them than anyone could have expected. If they're treating you like this, I understand why you're upset." I closed my eyes. Relief washed over me. For once, someone was on my side. But I knew things were about to get ugly. Sure enough, a few days later, Jared called. "Hey, Brian," he said, his voice forced but polite. "Emma's really upset. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding." I said nothing, letting him talk. "Look, man, I don't know where you're getting these ideas, but we never said anything bad about you. You've been great to us." I almost rolled my eyes. "Oh, so Grandma just made that up," he stammered. "Look, if she said something, it was probably twisted. You know how old people can exaggerate." I felt my temper flare. "You know what, Jared? Let's not pretend. I'm done with the money. You guys are on your own. I hope the wedding goes well." I hung up before he could argue. But I wasn't done. A few days later, Grandma called me again. "Brian, honey, can you come over? I have something to show you." When I arrived, she handed me an old letter. "I found this while going through some things," she said softly. I opened it, scanning the words. It was from my late grandfather, detailing a hidden trust fund set aside for his grandchildren. A fund that was meant to be distributed equally, unless one of us was found to be abusing the family bond. Emma and Jared had no idea. Grandma looked at me knowingly. You've worked hard, Brian. You've sacrificed for others. This was meant for people like you. I sat there, stunned. Karma, it seemed, was finally catching up. Over the next few weeks, word spread through the family. Emma and Jared were panicking. With the money gone, their financial struggles became obvious. Then the real bombshell hit. Emma and Jared found out about the trust fund, and instead of accepting their mistakes, they tried to fight it. They went to a lawyer, claiming I had hidden family assets from them. I was furious. Grandma was livid. They're desperate, she told me, but they don't have a leg to stand on. Sure enough, a few days later, their lawyer dropped the case. Turns out Jared had been embezzling money from his job. Someone had reported him. He was fired, and their bank denied their loan application. Emma was spiraling. She texted me, "We need to talk, please." I ignored her. The next day, she showed up at my apartment. I sighed, stepping out of my car. "What do you want?" "Emma?" She looked desperate. "Brian, I didn't know Jared would take it this far. I swear I didn't want this to happen." I folded my arms. "Oh, but you were fine trying to take the trust fund from me?" She flinched. "I'm sorry, okay? We've just been under so much stress. The wedding, the house, everything is falling apart." I stared at her. "You know whose fault that is, right?" She bit her lip. "You're right, but I have no one else to turn to." I shook my head. "You don't get it, do you? I'm done. I gave you years of my life, thousands of dollars, and you laughed at me. Now you expect me to save you again?" Her eyes widened. "Brian, you're my brother." I scoffed. "Yeah? And where was that loyalty when you mocked me behind my back?" She had no answer. I stepped past her, heading inside. "This is the last conversation we'll ever have about money. We're done." I shut the door. For the first time in years, I felt free. Emma didn't try calling again after that. Maybe she finally understood that I wasn't going to be her safety net anymore. Maybe she just didn't have the energy to fight back. Either way, I didn't care. I had wasted too much time and money on people who only saw me as a joke. A week later, Grandma called. "Brian, I want you to know something," she said, her voice steady. "I've decided I'm not speaking to Emma and Jared anymore. At least not for a long time." I was stunned. "Grandma, you don't have to do that for me." "I do," she said firmly. "They betrayed you, and if they don't respect you, they won't respect me. They crossed a line, and I won't pretend otherwise." It meant more to me than I could put into words. A few weeks later, Aunt Laura pulled me aside at the grocery store. "Hey, Brian," she said, giving me a knowing smile. "I just wanted to tell you how proud I am of you." I frowned. "Proud of me?" "Yes. You finally stood up for yourself. Emma has a way of manipulating people, but you didn't let her take advantage of you." I let out a short laugh. It wasn't easy, but I couldn't live like that anymore. "You did the right thing." Then she hesitated. "Oh, and you might want to check in with Grandma. She's making some changes to the trust fund." My stomach twisted. "What kind of changes?" She chuckled. "Let's just say Emma and Jared might not be included in future plans." When I saw Grandma a few days later, she confirmed it. "I spoke to the lawyer," she said. "If Emma and Jared can't show responsibility and respect, they won't get their share of the trust." I stared at her. "Grandma, you don't need to do that for me. I don't want their money." She smiled. "I know. That's why you deserve it." After that, I cut all contact with Emma and Jared. No calls, no texts, nothing. For the first time in years, I felt light. I didn't realize how much of a burden I had been carrying until it was finally gone. The real kicker? Jared lost his job and moved out. Their relationship crumbled. Emma had to move back in with my mom. I wasn't happy about it, but I couldn't ignore the irony. The people who once mocked me for being alone had ended up with nothing. And me? I had a new start. Sometimes karma doesn't need a push. It just needs time. Emma didn't try reaching out again. And honestly, I was relieved. For years, I had been the one to clean up their messes, to make their lives easier while mine remained stagnant. Now I had finally put myself first. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was necessary. The last I heard, Jared had completely disappeared from the picture. Without his job, his promises of a better life had crumbled, and with no one left to leech off, he left Emma to deal with the consequences. She had to move back in with my mother, the same person who had initially pressured me to keep supporting her. Now she was the one dealing with the weight of Emma's financial burdens. As for me, I finally had space to breathe. My finances were mine again, and more than that, I had peace. No longer was I the joke, the fool they laughed at behind my back while taking my money. I had proven that kindness is not weakness, and that no one has the right to take advantage of another person's generosity. But life has a funny way of working things out. One evening, I received a letter from my grandmother. Inside was a simple note. Brian, I've decided to adjust the trust. You deserve more than you've been given. The rest will only go to those who truly value family. Love, Grandma. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I had a feeling it wasn't good news for Emma. The truth is, people will always reveal who they truly are when money and convenience are taken away. Emma and Jared showed me that their loyalty only lasted as long as my wallet was open. And when it closed, they turned on me without hesitation. But karma always finds its way. What do you think? Should I have forgiven them? Should family ties outweigh betrayal? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story like this.